entertain a motion to declare open meeting. Second?
Rasmussen?
Trent.
And then Tar?
The first and second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries, meeting is open. The Open Meetings Act is posted in the door back there, if you're here to read that. Roll call, Krista.
Here.
Thor.
Yes.
Trent.
Here.
Tim. Here. Blatt.
Yes.
And myself here. We'll approve the consent agenda. We'll start with the agenda, which I have a problem with. Number 9 on American Civics, I am not on that committee. It's Dr. Thor instead of myself.
Oh, okay. I've got him listed on mine, so yeah.
I've got Thor on mine.
I got Souser, Tar, and From on mine.
Yeah, that's weird.
What are you guys doing?
We have two different guitars.
Oh, now that comes out.
Maybe we better check everything. Do you have any
Yeah.
pay raises?
Do you have negotiations on item 8?
Yep.
Yes.
Do you have Watson Building 9?
No, I've got
No, 9 is
I'm sorry, American Civics 9.
negotiations,
Watson Building
have that in there.
10, discussion items. Yeah.
Review Policy Series
Yeah.
404,
Am I
11.
supposed to be?
Yep,
IXL for Math, ELA, Enrichment 12.
Before you went to your,
Oh.
yep, yep,
Updating Resolution of Powers, Madison County Bank
Yep.
13.
yep,
Modifying School Calendar 14.
yep,
Okay, and then reports. Okay.
yep.
That's what you're.
No.
That's kind of funky, but, okay. So, I should take care of the agenda. Go in the minutes from the last meeting. Nobody has anything on the minutes. We will go to the financials. I'll tell you, there was a lot of checks this month, a lot of $10 checks. It took forever. Total wasn't bad, but do you know how many there were? Did you count?
Yeah, there's almost 90.
90?
There's a lot.
So we got the interest raised on the Madison County
Mhm.
CD
Yep.
last year.
That's probably, I mean, the best place for that $1 million. It's just in those CDs, do them with flex, so no penalty if they were in a bind or something, and wanted to spend that. But that's pretty safe, $1 million just sitting there, generating some good interest.
So moving on to the activities ones, we bought a lot of football uniforms. I see
We
there were
did.
several helmets and pretty big items.
We did.
Is that-
Made some changes, just, we, for years, our boys have bought their home uniform. And our new coach wanted to do something different. I think when you bring somebody else in, you give them an opportunity within reason to make some changes in maybe not just how a team prepares and plays, but maybe also a little bit how they look. So we thought this would be a reasonable time. We got to put it out for bids, and we got a good, we feel that those things are expensive. Uniforms are expensive. But,
Have we got all the uniforms? Tops
yes.
and bottoms? Away and home? Yep. And helmets?
No, just some reconditioned helmets. How many new helmets did we get?
We only did 6, and that was money that was donated that we bought those with.
Sports boosters, you got age-rated copies. About 6.
That's one of the bigger issues that football programs are dealing with are upgrading helmets. The safety concerns for concussions are just creating a series of need to either recondition them, refabricate them, or purchase new ones. And as you could probably guess, I mean, they're pretty pricey, but then you worry about putting substandard equipment, such as a football helmet.
What'd you do with the old ones?
We haven't got rid of any since I've been around them or whatnot, because you have to have people actually take them away, so we buy them through Rydell, so they would actually take the old ones, because you can't legally give
pass them
them
on.
away or do anything with that.
Can't sell or pass them on.
Yeah.
I thought if we got far enough in the playoffs, you just had everybody sign them and then you could auction them off.
So the new ones, are they're not the face masks, are the ones you showed us, right?
One of them had it, I think it was Matt, was wearing one of the new ones where you just use the pin and it
Yeah.
pops the face mask off, yeah. We got 6 of those, and then we had a few of those last year too, so we're about half and half. But everything we have is all brand new Rydell stuff. I think we maybe have one kid in a helmet that's over 2 years old, or 2 kids. So we have really good stuff, and our junior high stuff's really good, pad-wise and stuff, so our kids are in the safest equipment you
They're
can
equipped
have.
well, and our numbers are gonna be growing.
So the seniors aren't taking their uniforms, they'll be school property now, and be staying at school.
Correct.
They won't
Yep.
take them when they're
I eliminated the name on the back. That's what they used to have. So,
Good idea.
Okay, on the senior banners, am I reading this right, that you paid for them and got reimbursed?
No, the money, because he is the
Oh,
signature
got
of
it.
the account, so when money comes in, it's associated to Mr. Schmidt's name, so,
Okay. But
so
the
it looks
numbers
like.
didn't match. One was 760, one was 720.
that was the free
This is good.
introduced.
We had some students that didn't have to pay for their full price of their banner. So we had a donation for that, that actually should have went into the same place. I found it accidentally got put into contributions, so,
The students paid for it.
yeah.
Really?
They take them with them at the end of the year.
So if they refuse to buy one, they don't get one on the wall?
Well, if they refuse, they do, but our students who are free and reduced don't have to pay full price for it. But now we have to pay the full price, the full bill.
Yeah. Okay, if there's no more questions, we'll go on to the claims. So just to let you know, the lady that I gripe about for years, and I always call her lady, I have no idea who this person is, I don't know why I call her lady. But she drives here and works with what kids? The one that gets paid for travel.
Is that a OT or deaf?
MSM, yeah, that's.
Yeah. MSM is the billing entity. She works, she does some OT, PT, occupational therapy, and physical therapy with some kids. Yeah, it's,
She gets paid to travel here the same amount she gets to do what she does when she gets here. And she got a raise.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you, when you said that, there's actually a little note in here that's saying that the rate had gone up.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
noted it on the bill when you looked at it,
Yeah.
but yes.
So you get $66 an hour to drive. to where
I would
she's-
drive her for that.
I drive her for a lot less than that.
More than your combine.
Huh? Yeah, I drive it a long way.
plus federal reimbursement for mileage. Yeah.
So that's the one that irks me every month.
So the IXL learning, is that what we're gonna see?
Yep.
Tuesday was huge.
Always like to see it when there's textbooks and those kinds of things in here. It seems like we spend a lot of money for things that aren't necessarily learning things, you know? So when I see textbooks and that kind of stuff,
Ain't you happy?
yeah.
Okay, keep making.
Note to self, more You just told the wrong person that.
I will order more books.
Let's go.
You got it.
Notice yeah, how it.
Just remember, for everything you add on the books, you gotta subtract from some of this other stuff.
Oh.
We had a lot of folks thinking it was too cold in the buildings today. Well, we can't, we're not paying for the heat anymore because we're buying more textbooks. Bring the utility bill
I
back.
guess you have July but not August? Oh, heck, you pulled that off.
Don't judge me.
Okay, everybody good with that?
No, so you're just
So-
looking at something else quick.
Good?
We're good now.
Okay, unless anybody has any questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I don't think we should approve it with this in here.
What's that now?
This bill for this IXL. We're going to
Oh, because
approve
we
it
haven't
there.
approved it yet?
Yeah. Is that a big deal?
You can approve everything minus the IXL learning,
Yeah.
and then that action item will come up later to decide independently.
Okay. So, you said you had 2 or 3 things when I was signing the check, so you didn't know if we were gonna pay them or not.
Yeah, I'm still, you may approve it, but I won't send them if I'm not satisfied with it.
Okay.
Which we're probably gonna pay for it, but we're gonna reevaluate that in the next year, in the future.
Okay.
Mrs. Thompson knows what we're
Can the rest of
looking
us
at.
know, or?
Oh, it's newspapers and education, so it's the
Oh.
amount of money we spend on Omaha World Herald and Tumble Books, just, are we getting our money's worth out of this? How is it used? One of the things that's been around a long time and you just roll it over. Like our AR for years and years and years was just rolled over and we were, overbilled for years. So new administrators kind of evaluating the things that we just have done over and over and over.
So there's a library, magazines and papers that are in the
Yeah,
library.
not even required to have magazines anymore. You might see those go away. You have to have digital periodicals as a requirement. Magazines on a rack.
Okay, if you want to make that motion, excluding that figure.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda except for the IXL learning
Second.
bill.
Rick seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, public comment. Anybody want to have public comment tonight? Yeah, thank you. Number 8, committee reports, negotiations, myself, Krista, and Dr. Thor. We've had 2 meetings, just got done with one before, earlier today. Long ways apart on the first one, like always. Threw stuff back and forth at each other. Came together, both talked, came together again tonight. With counters, got a lot closer. They went and rehashed what we countered with and came back with their second offer, which was a lot closer again. So I think one more meeting, we can probably come to an agreement with them. A couple minor things, nothing too big left, I don't think. So I'm sure by next month we'll have something for you to approve. So, not going to get into specifics right now until we're cleared on what we're doing.
And I would comment too, the experience here at Plainview Public Schools for negotiations with the teacher union is really fantastic. I mean, the relationship it's just an expectation that we're just gonna sit around a table and we'll go back and forth and we wish we could give more, but we're not gonna. We wish we could get more, but we're not gonna get. Yeah, I mean, I hear other superintendents talk about how it goes in their districts. And it's to a great degree, it seems like a majority of them are very adversarial and mistrust and just not good for the school district to have, your governing board and your teachers union not have a positive relationship, even when you have to discuss something that can be as tender as negotiations. And so it's just real simple and informal and appropriate and positive. So that's just refreshing and encouraging.
When we get done, we'll walk away and we'll all be satisfied. Neither one of us will win, but neither one of us will, we'll both give up a little bit, but not what the other one wanted. Okay, American Civics. Know who's chairman on this or? What?
Right when I was taking a drink, right?
We
There you
voted.
go.
Right before you got there, they voted.
Actually, Heather and Kyle had it pretty much covered. Maybe they want to brief us kind of just to give us a summary on what they had anyway.
Shit, like Kyle talks, we'll just have Heather do it.
Put my memory on. A lot of what she said was going through the state standards, which is what we align everything with when it comes to civics. We make sure we're aligned with that, and that basically covers everything that goes into LV 399. So just making sure that we're in compliance with it, make sure our standards match the state, and that's gonna make sure that we're following all the rules and everything we have to hit. We talked about music and what things we need to memorize when it comes to songs and things like that, and how it's a little heavier emphasis in the elementary. High school wise, we do the same thing, but it doesn't reach every single kid that's in this building over here. But we still go through it, and we implemented the pledge this year, so every kid in both buildings is gonna stand up and say the pledge every morning, student-led. I talked about over here doing history reports and things like that, starting to have a little bit more of a governing body when it comes to our student council and giving them a little bit more voice, and kind of treating that more like a government organization instead of teacher-led or something like that. So that was kind of the gist of everything that we talked about.
Comment I'd like to make is at the volleyball game the other night, the Mosel boys sang the national anthem. It was awesome. They did a very good job. So things like that you can incorporate is very cool.
So we're in compliance.
We're in compliance.
We're in compliance.
Chairman from.
That's what you're told, anyway. Okay, number 10, discussion items, Watson Building.
I heard from Al again, he's getting a little more motivated. But asked him, well, what his price still was, and he's at 3 1/4. No, that's not 3 1/4 for us, that's probably 3 1/4 for Jim Shear and his partners who were interested in the front half, who contacted us about, well, if we buy this whole thing, you know. So I haven't talked to Jim Shear since the last report I had to you, so I would expect that you're gonna see that property listed, and hopefully.
That's the figure he gave you.
3 1/4.
Then also, so it's the same.
I don't know what he's the figure that Jim and his partners have been considering. So but he keeps coming back to us, and I've never told him, well, that you'd have to get to this range, you know, for us to really be serious. But so.
Is it 350 or 325?
3 1/4. So there's still really no
Yeah,
movement.
I heard a little tidbit the other day too, whether there's interest in it or not, that maybe the true value and the Plainview Auto Store would go together and move in there. So, this could be hearsay. Okay, number 11, review of policy series 404, employee health and well-being.
The reason that it's good to go through review your policies is so you get your eyes on it, and so it's good for me too, as the superintendent, to recognize what, the specific language of our policies and where, okay, maybe we haven't really followed that, to the letter. I don't have any suggestions for any changes of language. They're all still appropriate. I would say if you go to 40407, substance-free workplace, one thing I highlighted was in that second paragraph, if an employee is convicted of a violation of any criminal drug offense committed in the workplace, the employee shall notify the employee supervisor of the conviction within 5 days. I mean, that would be long gone, long after we would know. I don't know if that should say immediately or whatever. I don't know why you would give somebody 5 days to report that they've been convicted of a drug violation in the workplace, which counts, as in school vehicles as well, but not just our campus footprint. But that was just something that caught my attention.
I suppose if you had a long weekend or something in there, if you were, something happened on a Friday.
We all have
Yeah.
cell phones. I can't imagine that. That would be something certainly I would want to hear from that person, and not 4 days later having all kinds of people say, hey, do you know about?
We want to make a change. on
That's,
that.
I mean, unless you just, if you put as soon as possible, or, I don't know, that just obviously caught my attention. Of course, if you're convicted, this could be months after.
Yeah, conviction is different than.
I mean, it just almost doesn't make sense.
Does it say they have to notify you if they get arrested for it?
Yeah, I wonder if that would be a more appropriate consideration, take out the word convicted and put charged.
Yeah. Not that you could do anything on it, it would
Exactly.
just be a charge,
Exactly.
but you would know.
So if you change the word convicted to charged, I don't.
What if you left convicted in there the way it was and just add charged within 48 hours or something like that? Because you're gonna wanna know after the conviction also, you know.
Well, we're probably gonna be in the courtroom. We're talking about a drug offense, drug offense on school property.
It's gotta be before the conviction.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, that's what,
Oh, okay, it's
if somebody's charged with drug offense on school property, you can't wait for the conviction to happen.
Right.
Anyway, it's gotta happen before, so if he's charged, you gotta.
If you get
gotta move
charged,
on it, so.
you should notify them.
Yep, so that should be changed, in my opinion.
within
Yep.
24 hours?
As soon as possible.
ASAP, immediately within
Say within 24 hours.
24 hours.
Because if you put anything else, you know, how specific is that?
Exactly.
As soon as possible, okay, well.
Yeah.
I thought it was
24
good, you know.
In 24 hours, unless you're get thrown back into the can, you know, you can notify somebody that.
So we don't have to be there one phone call?
Well, I mean, even if you're not there, one phone call,
Yeah.
There are
their
ways
parents
to-
Yeah.
can call you.
So we are out changing that 24 hours, within 24 hours?
And then are we changing convicted to charged?
I say so.
So that second paragraph would potentially read, if an employee is charged of a violation of any criminal drug offense committed in the workplace, the employee shall notify employee supervisor of the charge within 24 hours of the charge.
And then you're gonna take out conviction?
Yeah,
Not
just
worry about
replacing
that.
the word conviction with one form of the word charge.
That doesn't change anything in the next paragraph, that it screws up.
No, that would be then if there indeed was a conviction, then superintendent can make the determination whether to require the employee to undergo. Tim, are you missing that?
Missing a whole bunch. I don't have this
He's missing
40407 or one.
You got 40407 either.
No, I do have that.
That's 40707.
Are they in your
Oh,
file?
40.
Did I happen to throw the wrong pages in your file? 400 is what we just replaced, so it's 400.
Mine is for 40406.
Is it in your file that you replaced? Did you have to take the wrong ones out?
We took the 403s out.
Those are all 403s.
There's an 403s.
You don't have anything after 40406.
Well, it can't be my fault, I looked through them.
Up to the 5 tab?
Well, he don't have the rest of 404s.
Okay.
He's got 406.
Gotcha.
Not the rest of 404s.
Okay.
So 10, 11,
40407
8, 7,
through 404.
11.
Where we got your notebook from?
They're all good. Just redeem them all. Oh, okay. All right.
Copy machine.
Yeah.
Can't Kelly put them together, right?
No, I wouldn't throw Kelly under the bus, not when she's present.
Does that spell out any consequences? I would just be worried that if they were charged with something that had potential consequences, that would be different than a conviction.
Yeah. We could add, the superintendent will make the determination whether to require the convicted employee. So on that third paragraph, you could add the word convicted prior to employee in that first sentence, which then, so nothing can kick in until somebody is convicted.
You may want to put them on administrative leave, though. before
Well,
they're
yeah,
convicted.
and I
Still do
think,
that?
that's giving the superintendent some leeway there to determine any kind of sanction. But I see what you're saying, if somebody's charged with something.
Really bad.
Yes, you always have some, you can go to contract and use language in their contract to suspend with pay.
Action items, number 12, discuss and take possible action on purchase of IXL for math, ELA enrichment.
I think we're going to move this action item to right after Mrs. Thompson's report. She's going to include that in her report, if that's okay. That way we don't start this up and have her make a presentation and then do it later when she wants to talk about achievement scores, if that's all right.
Okay, 13, discuss and take possible action on updating resolution of powers for Madison County Bank.
So I was contacted by the bank, and the last document they had was dated 9/18 of '08.
Yeah.
So we had Mr. Ham, Mrs. Wacker, and Mr. Zolke. So we need to update that to myself and Mr. Sauser and Mrs. Pendergast. So it's a resolution of lodge, association, or other similar organization. I don't exactly know what this document does, but it has something to do with
Well, I suppose
rights to
it's
information with regard to banking.
Similar when we go down to the other bank and have
Yeah.
to sign our signature when you're signing
Yeah.
checks and stuff, so. I mean, we have money in there, so somebody has to be able to go in
Yeah.
and make decisions on that.
So we have to have it in the minutes, and so I have a prompt for you for a motion on my
I
minutes.
wonder if we need to look into whether we need to do something in Brunswick too, while we're at it. I'm sure we probably haven't done anything over there.
Who notified who?
They notified
Should be
me.
notified us.
I agree.
But do we have anybody, if we needed to do something, do we have anybody that can do it? Because we don't have anybody on the list that's on board.
Catch me.
Just north of you.
Wouldn't be worth, it might be worth a phone call just to find out.
Mhm.
Okay, somebody wanna?
I'll make the motion, we update our resolution of powers to include Dr. Arnold, Kelly Pendergast, and Mr. Sauser as agents for Plainview Public Schools.
Second?
Yep.
Second.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Tim?
Yep.
Trent?
Yeah.
Dr. Thor? Dr. Thor?
Yep.
Krista?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carries. Number 14, discuss and take possible action on modifying the school calendar.
I think Mrs. Thompson and/or Mr. Schmidt mentioned last month about maybe looking at that Wednesday early dismissal in November, November 6th, instead of an early dismissal as a potential full-day PD. So it'd be a day off for students, be a contract day for teachers, maybe a full day of PD, that they were recognizing we could sure fill a full day with where we're at and what we want to, how we need to keep some things moving forward. So I'll let them discuss it, because since that time, they may have changed their mind/date on where you want to go with that. So Mrs. Thompson, do you want to start to address that then?
Sure. Yep. Okay, so we definitely did change our mind on the date. So with the success of our football team, the first option of playoff is that November PD date. And so we would like to look at the December professional development date. And we are asking, instead of having a 1 o'clock dismiss on the December date, to have no school on that date and have the entire day as a professional development day. We would like to, you have the schedule in front of you of what we would do for that day. We'd like to start the day with Mr. Schmidt leading the team and doing just a standards review. And then I would walk the teachers through a DOK breakdown. DOK is just a really fancy term, depth of knowledge. And it just basically talks about how deep we need to take students' understanding for each standard. Then we would use these documents right here, and we would have teachers go through every single one of their standards. And we would start with ELA standards, which is English Language Arts, and we would have them go through every single one of their standards. And this is called a real document, so they would have their readiness, and so it would talk about, does this standard prepare students for the future? And they would give it either a 2 as a priority standard or a 1 as a supporting standard. And then endurance is the standard valuable over time beyond a single test date. So do they just need it for this one test, or is it going to matter in Unit 2 and Unit 3? Same thing, they either give it a 2 or a 1. Assessment, are they going to need it on a state test? Are they going to need it on a unit test? Same thing, 2 or 1. Leverage, is it useful across disciplines? So they would go through and rank every single one of their standards, and by the end of the day, we would, by using this document, we would prioritize standards, and this would help us determine which of our standards are the most important standards at each grade level. The reason this is important is because we need to figure out what we feel is the most important thing. It is not possible to teach to the depth that we need to teach every single standard that Nebraska has written. If we tried to teach every single standard to the depth that it needs to be taught at every single grade level, it would take us way more than 13 years. So what we need to do is we need to rank the priorities, and then we need to align horizontally, we need to align vertically, and then we need to make sure there are no gaps. So we are in phase 1, and basically we're coming to you and asking for the time to do this.
So is this for more for state standards?
It is.
Yeah.
It is, yes. And then we talked to you earlier this year about the meetings that Kyle and I had over the summer, and we talked about the fact that we need to work really hard with curriculum groups, and we need to design curriculum, and we need to make sure that we have a guaranteed and a viable curriculum, and that we have pacing guides, and we have something that, you know, if we get a new teacher next year, something that's in place that they can come in and they can teach our students, and our students can be successful. We will start writing that curriculum second semester, but we can't do that until we have this in place. So if we can get that day in December, then we can get a really good step forward. Anything to add? No? Okay, we're good. I'm kidding.
When are you gonna make it up?
When do what?
When are you gonna make that day up then?
Actually, with the amount of hours that we have, we probably wouldn't need to make that time up. Agreed? Or no?
Yeah, for kids that,
Depends on
Yeah.
snow days.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually have enough extra hours worked in that if we don't have too many snow days, they have enough to graduate or move on. So.
Is this something that hasn't been done before, or it's been a long time since it was last done here?
I
As far
don't,
as you know, you probably don't know.
yeah, I have no idea if it's been done before here. In talking with teachers, there are, at the elementary level, there are programs that we have that we are using to teach, but there isn't necessarily a pacing guide. There isn't something set that we've created, that we've said, okay, by the time Johnny leaves first grade, he's gonna know X, Y, and Z, and these are my promise standards, you know? And by the time he leaves second grade, these are my promise standards, and he's gonna know this. We don't have anything like that.
So when do you want to start implementing this, like second semester, next year?
We'll hopefully get things written second semester. We will not be able to start teaching it second semester. If we can get it written second semester, it would be absolutely fabulous to start teaching it next year.
And when she says written, we're looking at ELA and science.
Yes.
The second semester, so then the next year we would have all this stuff done and base work taking place. So then we would just pick up and we'd have to write math and
Yes.
social studies,
Yeah.
do the same thing. All of your career clusters when it comes to business and technology is all gonna do the same thing as well. And eventually what we wanna do is create a long-range plan where over a 6 to 7 year span, we are revisiting these every year. We pick 1 or 2 disciplines and we revisit it and keep them up to date.
Because the state does that, you know, every 4 or 5 years, they're rewriting the standards. We need to make sure that we're right on their heels, and as they're rewriting standards, we're revisiting what we're doing, and we're revisiting what we're teaching to make sure we're staying up with what they're telling us we need to teach. So,
So is this something you two have come up with, or is this kind of a state?
I'm not gonna take credit.
Yeah.
This is one of her forms.
this is a process that I used when I was in Norfolk that I helped create there. And it worked amazingly well when I was there. And so as soon as we started talking here, I was like, real documents, we gotta get real documents, we gotta get that going here.
How many
And,
years did you get into it in Norfolk?
We were in about year 4 or 5 there. But we were working with many more people, and so it was taking much longer there, yeah.
But you were able to keep up with state changes and stuff really well. I mean, it worked the way you
Right.
thought it was gonna work.
Right.
That sounds great to me.
And I think when we get to looking at data here in a little bit, you'll be able to see some of the why behind why we're needing to do some of this work.
Now, will this date affect, first the playoffs? Is this gonna be okay? December
Yeah.
6th? Or could-
December
Yeah.
December 4th.
December 4th.
Yeah.
It's over.
The reason we did that is just because on the November date, if for some reason we're on the road, we would have some teachers, Mr. Boyer and Yelk and Clement
Yeah.
and I would all be gone in the afternoon if we played an afternoon game for some reason.
Or if
Okay.
there's bad weather and you move it up.
Yeah.
Right.
If something crazy were to happen, we just didn't, this is kind of an important one, we thought, something that we were really passionate about this summer when we were talking about it, and something that we wanted to start building towards. So we want to make sure everybody's present for it and that we can get the ball rolling, right?
We don't want even 3 or 4 missing it. It's too important. These are the foundation blocks. We don't want even 3 or 4 missing, or the whole castle's gonna fall. So,
So is there gonna be an issue with working that extra half a day?
No, because it's still
It's a
full contract day.
Yeah, it's a full contract.
Oh, I thought they were released at one.
No, so.
Kids are
it-
gone at one.
Yeah, the kids will be
Oh.
happy.
that's our professional development.
It doesn't change the teacher's
Okay.
day, the contract at all, but.
Yeah, I don't know, a lot of times it seems like we do a lot to change facilities and all those kinds of things. We have all these goals, but it seems like curriculum sometimes just kind
Right.
of moves along and doesn't really do anything, so I think this is great.
I think we need to invest in our teachers so we can invest in our students.
It's priority 1. All right.
I make a motion that we make Wednesday, December 4th, a full day of teacher professional development at the school for students.
Second.
Guess my first and second, myself, yes. Krista?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Trip?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep. So we're gonna go on to reports now, or do we just wanna go to the principal's report right away?
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Activities won't take, let's just do the activities.
Yeah, I mean, for Mr. Reed, I think he just, and he's back in school today after, 3 weeks, Cal, was he gone? 3?
Yeah.
Right at 3. So Mr. Reed is back with a new knee, and is getting around a whole lot better. So obviously, we're starting to kind of come to the second half of, well into the second half of fall sports. Well, district cross country is Thursday. Our last regular season volleyball game is tomorrow, and then it's all tournaments thereafter. So football has 2 regular season, and then, we'll almost certainly, we will be hosting a game on Halloween night, a football playoff game, Halloween night. No idea who that's going to be or what time of day that'll be, but our first round of playoffs will be December 31st, and we'll be hosting that. So what we don't know is the November 6th date that we just talked about. That could potentially be home, but more likely away. But so I mean, things are kind of coming to a close for activities. But good to have Mr. Reed back, certainly.
He was gone 4 weeks.
4 weeks. So gone a month.
Does he have a scooter?
No,
He's walking, doesn't he?
no, he's walking well.
Yeah.
Not fast, but well.
A little bit of ice.
Yep.
Principal's report.
Okay, so we'll start with the update for Wyatt, the cracks in the multipurpose room, and Gail is here, so.
Top of the list.
Mrs. Thompson had noticed that there was a crack on in the center of the north wall of the lunchroom. And what that is an expansion joint in this building. So as the seasons change, it gives and takes. And the crack doesn't run, of course, run all the way out to the outside of the building, but the block does move. So it's nothing serious, but it is noticeable when it moves, so.
Okay.
Somebody's fair time for that.
So as the weather changes, it may get a little bigger and then a little smaller.
Got it. Yep.
All right.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
acceptable?
When I was there for parent-teacher conferences, I mean, you could put your finger.
You could,
It's that
yeah.
wide. And I was like, wow, that's
Yeah.
big.
He did offer. He
And it
said-
goes all the way up and down, floor to ceiling.
He said, do I need to buy you a new building? And I said, that's
That's
the wrong
fine.
person to ask. I mean, yes.
And you went to Gale?
Well, you know.
Tuba cock.
Okay, I think we'll skip NSCAS and come back to that. Yeah. So SAT process, SAT is Student Assistance Team, and so that process is back. Mrs. Horseman, she is our title teacher, and she is the SAT coordinator now. We spent the morning together last Thursday and put together forms for the teachers and parents and the team. The process, I believe, is very streamlined, and it's going to just give that support to the teachers and the students that is so badly needed. So basically, the SAT process, if the teachers are just kind of at a standstill and they have a student in their class that just needs additional support and they're not sure what to do, they can come to the SAT team and we all meet and come up with ideas to help that student. So I had a non-mandatory after-school meeting, and I was very pleasantly surprised because a majority of my teachers and even some of the specials teachers were at the meeting to learn about what the new process will be and to ask questions, and so I was excited about that. So we will have our first SAT day on the 24th. Do we want to skip IXL?
Yeah, we can skip that.
Okay. You can, oh, and we did combine our reports, just so you know, mainly because mine was already done.
You're the boss.
Hey,
Dr.
guess
Arlt-
what? We're gonna divide them back up.
Next
Dr.
month
Arlt
we'll have
wanted
two.
me to throw that in there.
Mine's gonna be in color too. Pictures.
Do you want to do data dives or no?
No, you can do the data.
Okay, so our last professional development day was spent doing map growth data dives. So we have given map growth assessments for many years. We spent the afternoon going over data and looking at how to use that data for students to just figure out what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, how we can use the data to support what we're doing in the classroom, and how we can best use it to support the students. Elementary teachers are using the data and triangulating it with Acadience and STAR tests, both assessments that we are giving anyway at the beginning of the year, and then with classroom tests. So I'm a bit of a data dork, in case you guys didn't know, but we have these really cool data spreadsheets that all of my teachers are using now, and so they're able to just plug in numbers and it automatically fills in colors for them, so they can really easily look at this spreadsheet and see red across the board or green across the board and identify, okay, this kiddo might need some help, okay, this kiddo's good to go. So it's just kind of nice to be able to see strugglers or kiddos that are rising up.
Should just took your color charts away.
Sponsored by Crayola.
Sorry. Yes, Crayola.
Well, I'll let you get into that part with the IXL when we get there.
Okay.
But high school wise, we had homecoming. A lot of things were a success. If you see the Yelks, thank them for all the work that they put into it. They did a really good job. Had a student-led pep rally. We did all the students in the school decorating the tartan gym the Wednesday beforehand, and seeing the kids and the students work together. It was a lot of fun to see them start with a blank gym and end up with a pretty cool setting for homecoming on Thursday. National Honor Society, that stuff's getting done. Mr. Peter has applications turned in. He's also acquiring data from all of the teachers, information to go off of. We'll put together a teacher committee, and we're going to start looking at all the information here starting on Thursday and then Monday and Tuesday, and able to then declare who made National Honor Society and so on and so forth. We've had a lot of career days for kids. Juniors went to Northeast Community College. There was over 50 colleges there, so they were able to walk around for a couple hours and look at different schools, figure out what they want to offer, just kind of get them exposed to some different areas and options that are out there. The juniors took yes, they took the ASVAB test. I had to make sure that we got that done.
Sophomores?
Really, huh?
Sophomores? ASVAB?
Juniors. Yeah. So the juniors took the ASVAB, so it's basically just a test that feeds back kind of what their strengths are, what career fields that they're leaning to based off of their interests. Our computer science principals team went to another technology career day at Northeast, looking at coding, looking at computer science, looking at information technology, all of those different areas. So those kids had a good time. Our sophomores are going to Wayne State tomorrow. That's for a full day career day, looking at different options that they have. And then on October 22nd, we are going to have Apply to College Day. So every senior that we have here, we're going to have applied to a different college. And we're going to do that as a group sitting at computers, so that way Mr. Peter's there to help answer any questions about applying or anything like that. So that part will be coming up. FFA attended Husker Harvest Days at Grand Island. Mr. Kement had students do assignments along with that, so he had them go into different places while they were there, gathering information about career fields they might be interested in, and then they had to present back to the ag class. So great experience for them. A lot of Twitter shout outs that we got from them, so it was a good day. They really enjoyed it, and they appreciated you guys supporting that. Parent-teachers conferences took place. Elementary, pre-K through third grade, we had 120 conferences scheduled, 112 were held, so that's 93%. Fourth and sixth grade, 70 student conferences. Those were not scheduled, 46 of them were held, so that's 65%. And then at the high school, there's 91 families. We had 52 who attended, so that's 57%. So Mrs. Thompson and I have started bouncing ideas off of one another. How are we going to increase those numbers to try and get a little bit more involvement from our stakeholders and our parents and getting them involved in the process a little bit more? Basically getting them in our building and being able to communicate with them face to face and show them what's going on and talk to them a little bit more. But we just kind of started on that.
So the high school wasn't scheduled, that was just walking.
That's right. Fourth through 12th grade is not scheduled. So.
I think the lines were a little bit more of an issue with 4 through 6 than it was over at the high school side,
Yeah.
from what I'm hearing. But
60 kids going to
yeah,
three teachers.
to 3
where we
teachers.
had,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just
91 families going to
a few more options
18
of teachers to pick from while you waited on this side.
So back on the National Honor Society, it wasn't very many years ago, we had changed some of the requirements for that, so they get more kids on. Are you looking at changing those types of things again, or is it? I think we lowered our standards a little bit, allow more kids on. I don't know if that was the right thing to do, but I just wondered whether you're looking at making those kinds of changes again. Is it gonna upset parents because now their kid doesn't make it and they would have before you did the changes, type of thing?
I'm trying to think how many we have on there. Is there 5 or 6 that we have on there right now?
It's just a handful.
I know we had, I think there was 11 or 11 that were eligible to hand out, and that filled out the information and got back to us. As for criteria or anything like that, Mr. Peter and I didn't change anything. We just took what's currently in place. We changed the process probably a little bit about it, how we collect data and how we're going to basically go through all the information and how we're going to say, yes, this student meets criteria, no, this student doesn't, and try and make it a little bit more teacher-centered where we have information in front of us and a group of us sit down unbiasedly, figure out what kids meet the criteria. So that's just kind of the direction that we want to go with it versus maybe grading by a number, but having a little bit more discussion. That way we can really get a good feel for who should be on there and who shouldn't be. That's kind of where we're at.
And also that way parents can't sit down and say, well, my kid met all these requirements, why aren't they on there? You know, if it's more discussion and personal opinion.
I just wanted to comment, I appreciate the presentation, the structure, and the attire of the members at Parent Teachers Conference. Extremely professional. I mean, it was a huge leg up from what it had been. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so IXL or NCAS? Which would you like first, Dr. Arnold?
NCAS.
Okay. Could you? Because I can't reach it.
I must have.
Looks like you're already on it.
Yeah.
Anybody ever noticed how the tire actually looks like Mike's out?
Well, you just got yourself on about 5 more?
Okay, so I'm just going to talk really quick tonight, hopefully. I don't know many times that I've actually talked really quick, but about NSCAS results and AQuest classification for 2018 and 2019. So first with NSCAS, So the who of NSCAS, we test all 3rd to 8th grade in math and English language arts. 5th and 8th also take science, and then the 11th grade cohort takes ACT. Now the reason it says cohort and doesn't say 11th grade class is because if a student takes a high school class as an 8th grader, they automatically jump into that 9th grade class, so they have to take the ACT with that 9th grade class. So they become part of that cohort. Not that it happens very often. When do we test? March and April. Why? It measures learning against the Nebraska content standards, and it shows how learning is compared to NDE expectations. So here is how we compared last year in math. So if you're looking at grade levels right here, these are last year's classes. So when we're looking here, this red area is developing. This percent of the class did not pass the test. This percent was on track, meaning they passed the test, but at a lower level. And this percent passed at what is called college and career ready. So NDE standards are written at college and career ready level, which means they are at a high level. We talked about depth of knowledge. That just means that instead of at a Jeopardy basic level, they're more at a Shark Tank, I can talk about it and I can do it level, if that makes sense.
So this is what we got the bad grade on last year. This is these figures right here, right? Correct, that we got the...
This is one piece of the formula, and Mrs. Thompson's going to talk a little bit
Yeah,
later.
we'll talk more about
Yes, this is just
that.
one piece
That
of
was
it.
more of ACT than, yes. So this is our overall passing for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Okay, next. So this is ELA. Again, we have last year's classes. We have non-passing. We have on track, the lower level passing. We have college and career ready. And then we have the overall passing.
And ELA is?
I'm sorry,
My bad, phone.
English language arts. So I'll give you a minute just to look at those.
So CCR just means they're on pace to be able to make it to college when they get that age.
Yeah, if you kind of think about it that way. So the way my brain can kind of work is college and career ready, and if you think more like a more trade school, lower level, if you think, associate's degree,
But
sure.
it's when they get to that age, it's not the age they're at this time.
No, it's the age they're at.
So you got 3rd graders, 11% that are ready to go to college?
No, that are able to answer 3rd grade standards at college and career ready. They're written at college and career ready levels. Okay,
So.
everyone good? Yep.
One question.
Yeah.
Are we below what the state's baseline is, right ways? That's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the bad grade.
That's, okay.
Okay. So this is this is science, I'm sorry. So again, it's only tested in 5th and 8th grade. So developing, which is you're not passing. On track, and then college and career ready, and then our overall passing. So you'll notice that those are higher. Any questions on that one?
I don't know if you want to put the word developing, but that's the nicest way of saying it. But
We like to be positive in the education world.
What is the state's baseline, and where do they want to see like the CCR levels and on-track development levels then?
I mean, ideally, you'd really want to be right in here and up here. You know, right in here.
50-50 between on-track and CCR is what you're saying then? Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. I wanted to show you a 3-year trend, just so you can see where we have been over the last 3 years. Okay, so if you look right here, this one is NISA. So our test changed from NISA to NSCAS. Our math test changed from NISA to NSCAS 3 years ago. When it was NISA testing, that's when our standards changed. So our standards, when they were NISA, we were meeting them at 82%. So we were 82% proficient at that time. Then our standards changed to college and career ready standards. Our standards got more difficult. When our standards got more difficult, that's when we went down to 50%. So here's the problem that we have right now. What we're using to teach hasn't changed. So we're not doing anything different to get our kiddos back up to here. We're not doing anything different. If we were to go another year back, you would see that we did NISA testing here, and the same thing happened. I used all figures from the State of the Schools report, so I didn't use anything that we had here. I went on NDE's site and got their numbers. So we were at about 85, 90% there, and the same thing happened, which they expected. So they warned educators statewide, you are going to see a huge drop. Don't be surprised. And it happened with English language arts, and it happened with math. It's going to happen soon with science. Okay? Our science test is going to change. No, because it got pushed back a year.
Yep.
So not this year, but next year. So that's my concern again. So we need to be ready for this to change, but we also need to be doing something about this.
And as Mrs. Thompson said, most every school district saw this, and we anticipated this. So for example, we had 8 years of NISA. So most every school district, when they first started taking NISA, their scores were lower. And as every year they got more accustomed to NISA, and teachers started to see what was tested in NISA. Most every school district scores went up on average every year of the NISA test. And then we changed the whole test to NSCAS. And everybody plummeted back down to about where they started on the NISA test 6, 7, 8 years ago. So we'll naturally grow, our scores will naturally grow just because we get familiar with the NSCAS test.
What I don't
But we want to be
do,
more deliberate with our instruction.
right.
And
What I
that's
don't
what
want to do is
Mrs.
just get
Thompson
better
and Mr. Schmidt were
because
talking about
we know the test better.
Exactly.
I want to get better because our instruction is better.
And that's what you presented earlier in your
Yes, yes.
report.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, so here's our ACT. Now, if you look up top, this is just our ACT benchmarks. So what they need to have in math to be benchmark. Now, they use different words for ACT because, why not? Confuse everyone. So they have benchmark, they have on track, but they still keep developing, just for you. So, but they have all different numbers. So this is what you need to get in each area. This is where we fall. So for math, for benchmark, we have 63% of our students. Now this is last year's juniors.
Our current seniors.
Yes, current seniors. So 63% of them were at benchmark for math. 16% of them were on track. So click one more time. So 79% of our seniors right now are passing in math. 58% for English language arts, and 16%, so total of 74, and then 47% and 32% for 79%. So those are our numbers for the ACT right now. Any questions here with ACT?
No change?
Say it again.
No change expected on these?
No.
Okay.
On the test? No. Mm-mm.
You gotta change your approach.
Yes, because we want to change. We want to make sure that we're getting that college and career readiness level up all the way across. Okay, next slide. Again, I wanted to give you your 3-year cohort. So you were asking earlier about last year's numbers and the needs improvement. So for some reason, on the State of the Schools report, last year we had asterisks. And so they typically give asterisks if there's less than 10. I don't know why we had asterisks last year, but we don't have them this year.
Less than 10%?
No, just less than 10 students.
Oh, okay.
So it could be less than 10 students who were Asian, less than 10 students who were black, less than 10 students who were white, less than 10 students who were free and reduced. However they broke up the class, there were less than 10 of whatever dynamic. And so for some reason, English, language arts, and science, we ended up with asterisks. We don't have a percentage. And so that's how we ended up.
That was last year's senior
Yes,
class, which was
last
our
year.
smallest class in 100 years. And so the demographics of that class were going to be such that they had to mask some scores to
Yes.
protect the identity
Yes.
of the students taking the test.
Yes.
So we fell it, and they followed that class that were the state champs. So it was a perfect storm
It
for
really
us to have a formula kick out, and I tried to explain that last year a little bit, when that came out last year about this time. And I visited with the NDE about it, and they couldn't explain it well, but they said, it has something to do with your ACT.
Yeah, because if you go from 88 to anything, you're going to go down significantly. And then just like we went down significantly, we're going to come
They
back
don't
up
tell that whole
significantly.
story, but the newspaper will print it.
How can they give you a rating if they don't give you a score? I mean, if they don't come up with something.
They have to rate every
I know.
school district.
Well, that's the thing with AQuest, and we'll talk about AQuest in just a second. Or
One
now.
second.
Okay.
One second.
So
To the roll.
AQuest stands for Accountability for a Quality Education System Today and Tomorrow. There are 4 categories that are possible: excellent, great, good, and needs improvement. In Nebraska, there are 129 schools that are excellent, 468 that are great, 370 that are good, 139 that are needs improvement. Classifications are based on a ton of stuff, and not just ACT scores, but on student success, graduation rate, early childhood programs. So, I mean, stuff all the way down from littles to all the way up to extension programs in high school. English language learners. So if you are, let's say we're right here, and we have one English language learner, and our one English language learner doesn't score well, and we get docked for that. So chronic absenteeism, other measures. I mean, there's just a ton of things that can go into it. Right here, sometimes being a small school can harm you because they will not report a program if it has less than 10 members. So if we have less than 10 members enrolled in English language learners program, then we would not have those numbers reported to the state for AQuest. So sometimes being smaller can have its benefits, sometimes it can have its drawbacks. Okay, next.
You really need to break it down and look at all the individual numbers, not the total thing grouped together. It doesn't really do any
Absolutely.
good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so this year for AQuest, if we look at Plainview Elementary School, we are good. Next slide. Plainview Secondary School, it breaks it down for us. And the middle school is classified as good, but the high school, we moved all the way over to grade. So,
And
we'll
the-
make sure this is printed.
The classification that the paper prints is what the school district classification is, not an individual building. So the school district classification is the same as the high school
Yes.
classification, not automatically, but they somehow take the formulas for all 3
Yes.
and it spits out a classification district-wide.
Yep,
Last year, district-wide was needs improvement. This year, district-wide was great.
it's great. Yes,
Well, I agree.
yes. So, any questions?
How do we compare against other schools in our region? You said something about the tests dropping, and it seems like every school in the state probably saw that, at least trend-wise.
That's a great question.
So that would be a better comparison than I would think, is that how do our scores compare against the other schools?
There's actually a tool that you can go on, and you can go and you can compare different schools that are your exact same size, that are your same demographics, and you can find true comparisons across the state. When we went from NISA test to NSCAS, you could see that those similar drops across the state. So when we were dropping big, other schools were dropping big as well. As far as have other schools come back up, is that what you're asking?
I was just more generally, how our comparison versus other schools of our size.
Yeah.
Everybody's seeing the same drop.
Great tool on the Department of Ed website that's at nep.education.ne.gov. nep.education.ne.gov, which it's a spectacular website.
Yes.
Very interactive. And you can really get lost in it. You can look up any school district and they have the same classification structure. It looks exactly the same, but you can go in there and punch in comparative districts, and you can put in 10 different districts and it will show you side by side on just all the data that you can imagine, from your enrollment figures to your NSCAS scores to your ACT scores to your free and reduced and everything. So that is an excellent tool from the Department of Ed. nep.education.ne.gov.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. We'll go to IXL real quick. And are you all okay if I just present from back here for IXL? Okay. So I think the first place I'm going to go for IXL is the teacher login. Close out of all this. I really don't want to go through this.
Yeah, your ACT scores really, you can't compare from year to year, because you can have kids that are top in your class that don't test well. You can have kids that aren't top in your class that test really well.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not necessarily about learning your ACT scores.
When
And-
they look at test scores, the main thing that they look at is a trend. So they'll take 3-year gaps together, and if you see a trend of 3 years in a row scores going down, then that's gonna classify you as you would fall under the needs improvement then, or in that area, because if your test scores, they factor in the fact that, yes, you're gonna have classes that are really good, some classes not quite as good, but if you continually trend down, then changes need to be made. So.
I don't know why
Okay, so this is IXL. Right now I signed out. Right now I am logged in as a teacher. Kyle, how do I get this?
It's not at 100%, it's at like 120,
It's at
the
like-
screen.
Can you hit
Hit your,
Command 0 or Control 0?
Oh, take it to 50 or 40. There we go. That's perfect. All right. Here we go. So this would be my teacher dashboard. And from my teacher dashboard, I can see the number of questions that have been answered so far this year. I can go down and I can see any students who are in my class. And I can see textbook alignment. So if I had a series that we were using that was aligned with the company, I could go in and pick my textbook alignment, and let's say we were on lesson 27. I could just go there and it would tell me already what skills we should be working on. Let's see. We're gonna go to students. And we're gonna look for, we're gonna hope that there's a pretend student in here named, oh, let's see if there's a pretend Jackson Thompson. Okay, so there's a pretend Jackson Thompson. So I can see in the last 30 days that this pretend student has answered 179 questions and has practiced all of these different categories here. And then I can click on each of the categories that they have practiced. I can see how much of their time was spent on each of them. And then I can actually go in and see what types of questions they answered and whether they got them correct or incorrect. So it's super cool as a teacher because I can see what type of questions my students are answering. So here I see they answered 7 questions, they missed 0. They answered 28 questions, they missed 0. Answered 15 questions, missed 2. I can see the exact questions that they missed. And then they can also, when they miss questions, let's see, I'm going to go. When they miss questions, it gives them explanations and tells them why they missed it. Maybe I won't get to the ones that they missed. But just explains to them why they missed the questions. So our, let's see, kindergarten through 12th grade. 12th grade?
K-12 through seniors.
Yep. K-12 have access, and for science, 4 through 8 have access. Teachers can go on and print student score charts. They can print skill score charts, and then they can also do progress growth charts. They can look at real time. Real time is pretty cool when there's actually students on, because you can click and see what questions they're looking at that exact time. If they're missing them, it shows them red, like this one is red. And you can click and see what question it is that they've missed. If they've got them all green, then you know that they're good to go. I want to show you what it looks like. Oh, wait, from the teacher side, I'm going to go here. So I'm going to say that I'm a 5th grade teacher. I'm going to show you what it looks like for skills. So I'm going to be a 5th grade language arts teacher. I can go in as a 5th grade language arts teacher and I see all of the different skills that my class can work on. If I was working on poetry for the week, I can go in and I can click on these skills because I might want my class to work on those. When my students go in, now those 2 skills right there will have gold stars next to them. Or let's say that I have a student that is far beyond in a certain area and I want them to work above level. So I could go and I could hover above this star and I could select just that one student. So maybe I want to just click on, oh man, sorry. Just click on the student I have a login for, Charlie Thompson. So I see this one has lines on it now, so I know I didn't assign it to the whole class. I only assigned it to a certain student or a certain group of students. Now I can go to math and I can do that same thing. Maybe we are working on addition and subtraction and I want my students to work on those 3 skills. But I'm going to assign this one to just her again. Because I'm going to log in as her so you guys can see what it looks like from the student side as well. Okay? I can also see awards. So from the teacher side, I can see different certificates that my class might receive. So I can print these certificates. Right now there's a certificate on the elementary building for 30,000 questions being answered, which is pretty impressive. But those are all different certificates that I could print. Any questions from the teacher's side?
So how does, okay, so you are teaching and then you just say, if you have spare time, you go in and take these tests?
They're not tests.
Well,
what it is, they're just,
questions.
they are meant to be skill practice. So if I'm teaching a lesson about main ideas and I wrap up my lesson maybe 5 minutes early, I can say, why don't you guys go jump on IXL and practice for about 5 minutes. The really cool thing about IXL is that kids can also get on IXL from home. And so at one of our assemblies, the beginning of October, I had just introduced IXL maybe the week before, and I already had some kids that had got on at home. And at that assembly, I said, man, you guys, if you got on IXL last week, stand up. And I had about 10 students stand up. The next day, it was ridiculous how many students had got on IXL at home. And now, Kyle and I kind of joke all the time. Let me show you the time. At home, I have 87 hours spent. 87 hours that students have spent at home practicing these skills. So they can get on at home, they can get on at school. They can spend 5 minutes here or there. I've asked my teachers to dedicate about 15 minutes a week. So 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, whatever they can. I started our first week with 15 minutes in technology class to introduce it to all of the students and let them log on and let them get used to it for the first time. And from what I've seen, the students have really enjoyed it. I'm going to sign out and I'm going to sign in as one of the students and let you see what they see. Okay, so when I signed in as Charlie, so here's something that I actually really appreciated. So Charlie's in 5th grade, but she still has access to all of these other grade levels. So some people might be like, well, why would you want them to have access to all of these other grade levels? If Charlie's struggling on something, then I can very easily say, hey, Charlie, go work on main ideas in 4th grade, build it up, your confidence in 4th grade, then jump into 5th grade and master it in 5th grade. Once you've mastered it in 5th grade, then go get it in 6th grade. So they can build up their confidence in a lower grade level and then master it at their grade level. So if you remember, I went into her teacher and starred some of her skills for her to work on. So in math, she has these skills starred, and so those would be the first ones that she would go to because those are her starred skills. Now, it doesn't force her. It doesn't say that those are the only ones that she can go to, but that's where it takes some teaching and some guidance on the teacher's part to make sure that she goes to those. Language arts, we did the same thing, and we put a couple different start skills in there so she can go to those.
So does a teacher, when she's checking these, does she have to pull up each kid individually, or can she pull up a whole group at once so she's not in and out?
Yeah, she can pull up the whole group.
The whole group at once.
Yeah. So the teacher, really good question actually. The teacher can pull up, remember where I said that they could pull up the grids? So if the teacher were to pull up one of those grids, it would pull up all of the skills, and then it would pull up So these go by SMART scores. So let's see if, oh, come on, Charlie, you're killing me. None of these. So as students work on these, they get SMART scores, and their goal is to get to a SMART score of 100. So the teacher would pull up that grid, and it would have where the student is on their SMART score. So it could show 80, 79, 23, wherever they are on their SMART score. As the students are working through, so let's see, which one do you guys want to try with me?
Price of corn.
Should we, let's go, okay, let's make it really easy, okay? We'll go down to first grade, and we'll go to math.
Praise the Lord, first grade.
Hope I get this right.
And we'll review counting.
Counting.
Okay? So, how many lions are there? Everyone?
They're
One.
all lying.
Okay. So, it tells us good work. How many bears are there? And then the students can actually click on the bears and count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Terrific. There are 4. Okay, so now if a student gets one incorrect, which picture shows 2? If I said this picture shows 2, sorry, that's incorrect. And then it tells us why I got it wrong, so my review, and at this grade level, it actually reads it to me. Oh, if my volume's on. Oh, and my volume's not connected. So, and it tells me which one I answered, and then it says this shows 2, and then it counts it for me. Then I have to click got it, and notice my SMART score went down. So now over here is my SMART score, which shows 5. Now my SMART score went up to 33. So, I mean, it's just kind of fun.
What is the SMART score? What is that based on? Is there some kind of algorithm behind that?
Yeah.
There is an algorithm behind it. I couldn't tell you what the algorithm is, but
Click on the question mark in the
Oh, you
SMART
know,
score.
I would need a computer first, an internet.
IXL SMART Score is a dynamic measure of the progress toward mastery, rather than a percentage grade. It tracks your skill level as you tackle progressively more difficult questions. Consistently answer questions correctly to reach excellence, which is 90, or conquer challenge zone. So you'll get to, once you get to 90, you'll get to the challenge zone, and then if you can get through the challenge zone, which is from 90 to 100, then you'll get to mastery. Once you get to mastery, which is 100, you get a prize. So the prize, Miss Wobbs, am I right? The prize is what, like, all of the kids are like, oh, I mastered something. Like, they master something, and
So it's adaptive, so the questions get progressively more
Yes.
challenging. So it's like our map test, or as Mr. Schmidt likes to call it, the MAPS test.
he just says that to get me mad. That's okay.
So it progressively, if you answer every question you get right, it'll progressively challenge you more. So it's like our map test that we take 3 times a year. So it progressively gets, or if you miss 2 in a row, 3 in a row, then.
Yes.
So it's meant to find out where you are and then help you grow.
Yep. I mean, the really cool thing about it is that it helps you as you go. As long as you're looking at the reason you got something incorrect,
So as you get into like the really tough math questions or formulas and stuff, does it go back and explain to you how the formula, what you should do?
Absolutely. But here's the problem. When it gets up to those really difficult math questions, it's teaching the kids, slow down and read the explanation. So, yeah, it's the whole teaching process. But we have some high school teachers that,
I mean, the part I like about it best is we just spent 2.5 hours on our last PD day breaking down math data and looking at our kids' test scores and maybe where standards they're deficient on or not quite meeting the standard. Our teachers are so far into their curriculum right now that they can look at that map store and say, okay, this kid didn't get this standard. They can go assign them this to do outside of class, and get them caught back up and give them extra practice.
Right.
Without having to go back and reteach everything.
Right.
So it's able to help close some gaps and get kids back up to speed without having to take the whole group back.
Right.
So
Because
that's the
that-
part I like.
They can make this be homework and make them, okay, you have to do this tonight.
If they have access to it, yes. Or they can do it during study hall.
Yep.
They can come in the mornings and do it.
They don't have to do it at home.
No.
Are parents, I mean, able to help their kids with this at home? Are they aware of this? Are you gonna make them aware of, you know?
I was, Zach brought
Yep.
home a login and
Yep.
password.
Elementary, I encouraged all of my teachers to send home paperwork with username and password, and it's the same as their computer username and password. The links to sign in, it's all on our website. We're trying to make it as easy as possible.
Kind of
Zach was
catch
pretty
parents
excited for it.
doing their homework for their kids.
You know, if we have a parent sitting down and helping their kid with that, I would encourage it.
But they don't get a grade for it. Doesn't do them any good, though, to
Yeah.
help their kid be successful.
I can
but
see parents.
Yeah,
Like,
oh yeah.
Well, I got to do this. I'll
It's-
just do it for my kid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because there are those parents out there that.
No,
do their
there
homework for their
aren't.
kids.
But it's a bit catchy. I mean, if you're on it, you might just you're curious about the next question and what's it going to be. So I can see parents
See,
that
I didn't know this was
Sitting down
implemented for
for
the
kids.
middle school and for high school. So Zach brought home a
Oh.
login, password, but I didn't know that my other two knuckleheads are supposed to.
Now you do.
Anyway,
Guess
so-
what they're doing tonight for 30
Yeah,
minutes?
I might have to.
Are teachers using this to like maybe personalize?
Incentivize?
Personalized homework for kids, so not every kid's going to have the exact same homework. I'm wondering if.
I mean,
Yeah.
it could be. That's what Mr. Schmidt was just talking about. I mean,
I don't know if that was happening though, or I mean, obviously the option's there, but I don't know. It seems like that would create some work for some teachers. So I don't know if they would be into it or not.
Well, we've just got into the map data. We just did, what, 2 weeks ago is when we first got into that. So that's just relatively new. Teachers starting to break that in. A lot of what I've seen it used for here right now would be like bell ringers or exit tickets, things to like start class or end class, just to review a concept that they've gone over. I've seen one teacher use it as a competition, so they're keeping scores as a team of ones that get 80%. And it's great to get students engaged that way, especially at the middle level. So,
Well, if kids are getting recognized, they'll be more likely to do it and
oh yeah.
and there's
be more excited to do more.
It's not just something that it's a one-fit avenue. You can use it in such a variety of ways, and you know, people are starting to figure that out and run with it, and that's.
So you're
been
using it
beneficial.
currently, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what are you asking for us for tonight?
we're kind of piloting it. So if the board says, well, we don't think it's worth a $5,000 investment, we'd rather save that money for utility expenses, then we won't pay the bill and they will pull the plug. But we wanted to give our teachers some experience with it, introduce our kids to it. But honestly, we knew, I mean, I'm familiar with it going back years in previous school as well, and I knew that, okay, our kids are going to dig this, especially the younger ones. You know, they're really going to be into this, and teachers like to personalize the enrichment. They can. It does take some time, though, if teachers really want to direct, know where their kids are and what skills they need and where they're a little deficient. It takes time for teachers to personalize their kids' enrichment activities on this. But you determine whether that's worth your valuable time. There's going to be a trade-off for something else. But so we wanted to give our kids a chance to use it and teachers to see it and use it before we we're committed, all in.
What's the feedback you've gotten from teachers on it so far? I think that would be one of the most important factors, I guess, for the board to consider. Is how the teachers view it, if it's useful or if it's not, or if they see it helping the kids.
I can tell you, just high school wise, when we filled out the board report, we've had almost 8,000 questions answered in 2 days. So people using it a lot and utilizing it, whether it be starting class, ending class, whatever it is. So, I mean, if they thought it was pointless and didn't see the value in it, it wouldn't be getting used that much. I don't
Yep.
think.
Elementary, we've had 13,000 in that amount of time. So,
But did the teachers see, like, yeah, the kid's really interested in this, it's helped him improve, like, can they see those kinds of results? Have they said anything about that?
I don't know that they're seeing huge results just yet, because we haven't had it long enough to see huge results just yet. Yeah.
3 weeks.
That's all okay,
Yeah,
that's all
so,
using it, all right, so that would take time, obviously.
right.
To see.
How long is the demo? A month? You get a month to use it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you aren't gonna see a whole lot of bang yet,
Mm-mm.
you know?
No. But, I mean, as a district, we're looking at, what did we say at the beginning?
Questions answered?
Yeah.
We were at 78,000 in less than a month that we've been doing it, so.
So you plan on letting each teacher decide how much they want to use it, or are you going to try and put stipulations, we want you using it?
I think,
Time or-
you know, I initially was going to put stipulations on, but I don't think I have to. I think that I'm seeing a ton of use out of it, and I think that the kids are liking it. I think that the teachers are liking it. I'm seeing iPad carts being checked out more. I'm seeing anytime I go, and I go quite often, logging in, just seeing how many students are online. I'm consistently seeing at least 30 kiddos logged in. So I'm seeing that it's being used. I'm seeing that it's worth the investment. I'm excited, you know, if you back it, I'm excited to see what it could do for us.
Not from your perspective, but I think the greatest asset of this is for the child that sits at home whose parents do not help them
100%.
and they do not know how to ask. They have a path to find
Yep.
their way back.
Yeah.
That's the greatest asset of this.
I talked to a 6th grader the other day who was logged on at 10:40 on a Friday night and who got logged on again before 7 o'clock on Saturday morning.
What grade, 10th grade?
6th grader. I mean,
The nice thing Wyatt said is when the kids can't figure it out, they don't come to the parents. How do you do this?
Go with that right now.
I'll go with that. The answer's
I
on.
mean, this is George Bush's No Child Left Behind. It's here.
So is the cost unlimited time then?
Unlimited.
It's not every.
absolutely. It's unlimited
It is an
time.
annual expense.
It is,
Okay,
yes.
that's my question.
But there's, I mean, this covers everything. It's not like, if you want this, you gotta pay more. It's a flat rate. It's the 5,000 covers
For everything that you've seen here, of
There's no
course, she's
add-ons
only
or
showed you just a fraction of
Yeah,
what can do.
and it's a per student cost, and so the student, or what we have looked at is kindergarten through 12th grade, ELA and math, and then we added science for 5th through 8th.
And the reason we did science doesn't have K-12 to start
Right.
with. But the reason we did 4-8 is because
Oh,
that's where all the
4-8,
testing
yes.
is going to take place.
Mhm.
Your 5th and 8th grade is when they're going to be tested on science, so anytime we can get them a little extra,
Mhm.
we want to make that available.
Mhm.
Would you review that annually then, as far as which programs are actually working and which ones aren't?
I mean, I think that you would have to, yep, because each program that you add is an extra cost. So if we found that we weren't liking the science, then we could save $350 per student. If we found that we weren't getting anything out of the ELA, then we could save
I
some.
can see some of their programs being better than others too, depending on where they put their company, I guess.
Saying yes.
Action item 12. Yeah, but I don't know that we would give IXL all the credit or not, looking
Right.
at scores, but because it
100%.
will be difficult to say if we have a spike in scores,
Mhm.
you know, and
It's
exactly
something
what is
that
that
has to be-
attributed to, but you could.
100%.
You could arguably say that maybe this has made a difference, but there are going to be a variety of things. So it will be hard to say, is IXL working? I think you just look at the data that you get from IXL and say,
Yes.
we've answered 150,000 questions correct. That has to make a difference.
Yes.
You know, but
Agreed.
but
I
it
was
would
just
be
saying their
hard to
curriculum-
correlate it directly to
Some of their skills, or like some of their programs in the software itself is all I was
Yeah.
trying to say, maybe better, more mature,
Yeah.
or
yeah.
than
But-
other skills.
Mhm.
So Dr. Earl, you said you've been with this with other schools. How old a program is this?
It's a. It was a decade ago.
all I want.
It was a decade ago where I used it in Central City.
So what kind of findings from schools that have been using it? Do they kick back what their experience has been with it? I mean, do they keep renewing, or do they do it a year or two and
We did it the
follow
year
it?
that I was there, and then That's all, you know, I can tell you, but in terms of historical data on how many school districts use it and how many have used it for longer term, you know.
Have you seen any success stories? I think it's kind of what he's driving at.
Well, yeah, if people try it and continue to use it, or they try it for a year or two and say, well, it's right now.
And has it worked? Has it
Yeah,
improved
they
scores?
drop it. I mean, the longevity of how long people are doing it's going to tell you whether they think it works or not. Worth the money.
When we've been around for a decade, it's probably, obviously, people are using it,
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh, make the motion.
To make the motion that we approve the purchase of the IXL to supplement the math and ELA curriculum for the amount of
$5,088.
5,000.
$5,088.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been first and seconded. Krista?
Yes.
Dr. Thor?
Yes.
Michelle, yes. Matt?
Yep.
Yes. Trent?
Yes.
Motion carries.
What grades are those for?
Well,
K through 12.
It's K through 12, every program.
Science is 40.
1998. was
Yep,
the
I
first
just looked it up
founded.
too, 1998.
Okay, we're down to President's Report. I just want to congratulate the King and Queen, Krista and Nate, and all the what do you call it, candidates or whatever. And I want to commend you too on what you're doing here with implementing stuff and coming up with new ideas and all that, because it's just, I mean, that's what we're here for, is the kids, and we're not doing anything by not making changes. So I think you're doing a great job, you know, and just keep it up. I'm impressed. So now I'm assuming what you just got done doing is leading to one-to-one down the road. We'll go there another day.
You want us to ask for more money right now?
No. So we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
All right, I did attend the NASB membership meeting in Norfolk last week. A lot of updates mainly on legal changes and just some leadership things. You know, nothing incredibly dramatic, a lot of networking. So primarily, you know, I whatever I think is necessary for the board's leadership, you know, I will, you know, present to you from them. Obviously, the State Education Conference is for school boards, for public school boards. Myself and Mike and Tim are registered, and we'll go November 20 to 22 in Omaha. I'm continuing to pursue information about the track restoration, and so again, you know, building and grounds will need to meet at some point. Things can obviously slow down in the winter time when you're thinking about it, but the more I look at that track, I was out there on Sunday, if you go to the inside of the track, I can pick up the track membrane off of the asphalt foundation. I mean, I can go to the inside of the track and it's kind of curling up. There's cracks everywhere, but I can go, and I picked up a piece half the size of this table, you know, a foot off of the track. I mean, so, I mean, it's just, most of that track is just laying on top of a dirty, dusty foundation of asphalt. And I mean, just, so we're just gonna have to decide to what level of restoration it's gonna need within the next 3 years. I mean, without a doubt.
If you broke it, you gotta fix it.
So I laid that down.
Structure.
Laid that baby right back down in pieces, so it's good to go. We do have new backboards coming for the Pirate Gym. Been working on that for a couple years. Got 2 of them donated. And I'm talking about the practice side backboards, which are the original metal fans. Those are going to be replaced with glass backboards.
Advertisement on that donation, or just?
No, our booster club and the ball backers, who are still considering it, but they told me a couple of years ago when the community club ran the basketball tournament, yeah, we would pitch in for one of those. So they're under $1,000. We got them for under $1,000 a piece, and so those will be done before basketball season starts. We had our audit on a week ago last Thursday. Was it Thursday? Okay, so we're waiting for the report on that. It was, yeah, terrific to have to pay how many thousands of dollars for that is.
Yeah, the field work's finished, there'll be more work to
Yeah,
do, because
Kelly-
our numbers will have to match, our numbers will upload to the state, the AFR,
Yeah.
my numbers have to match the auditor's numbers.
Kelly's been working on the audit with these folks for months. You know, a lot of preliminary work, so good to have it done. Be kind of anxious to see the report when it comes out. So that'll be good. There's your enrollment summary, meetings out of district, vacation sick balance. The school safety summit last week in Kearney was spectacular, and so we have continued work to do, and it wasn't just safety for school facilities with regard to potential threats, but also safety for our kids in the cyber world, and so that's just always a scary reality that exists for our kids. And so I'll have more information, continuing for that. But always need to be, it is Digital Citizenship Week, and so, but it should be Digital Citizenship Week every week.
Update on
the doors are just, if you take a look, they're all coming in, the handles are going on. So I mean, they're still not, 100% complete. I think I saw Jim walk down the hallway with one yet. So I think I've mentioned from the beginning, Jim will take his time, but it will be done right. The big heavy doors on the weight room, the 2 double doors that we completely replaced, are plumbed perfectly. They do, they're not pinned yet. The handles aren't on them yet. The doors are just hung, and they don't move a lick. We know that they're done perfectly. So I think we're getting what we paid for, which was plenty. But that was a good work to get done.
Okay, and we aren't gonna talk about the air conditioner unit until spring, right?
Which one is that?
The one that wasn't working this fall, it's just half.
We don't need an air conditioner unit.
That's what I'm saying, spring.
It's colder than heck in the building.
Okay, was this just for our amusement?
Yeah, you can take it home.
Okay, right, we're sure.
And send it back with
And send it
an
back.
order.
So the other third one's whenever you can check. We had an initial.
Okay, I can do that now. All right.
Just so you know that you look at it.
I'll just stop doing checks.
No, you won't.
Stop.
This one is just boilers.
What's that?
Yeah, thanks.
40407 to the end.
Yeah, like a sweatshirt. Like a hoodie. Are there hoodies? There are hoodies. Graduate? Do we need to have a graduation ceremony?
I just gotta text me over fast as That's real, I'm trying to remember one-handed. See it open it.